roll and then I forget to record. So we are recording. Yeah, would love for you to just share a little bit, for the group, and we're gonna get some more of the guys on here as well.
Yeah, cool. So I think like the elevator pitch, 30 seconds. All right, let's go. I run a YouTube ad agency. That's probably our bread and butter of what we do. We've been running the agency for 10 years. So my first, I was like running a SEO agency that kind of merged into a full-blown YouTube ad agency when we took on our first client, basically for YouTube ads. I saw the light and I headed in that direction. I know how to play nice on all the other platforms, but I'll know nothing compared to everybody else in this call. I kind of know YouTube in and out really well as an ad platform, and I've been doing it for lots of different brands, from big brands like Mind Valley and HelloFresh, those sorts of bigger, more, I suppose, more corporate-y type brands, and then down to kind of smaller companies that are spending $10,000, $15,000 a month. So I think we kind of like have worked with everybody in between, and yes, there's a few simple principles that need to be put into place to get YouTube ads working really well, to be working profitably and at scale. The world has changed in the last 6 months dramatically on YouTube, and we've been managing to navigate those waters pretty successfully so far, touch wood. And I can share with people exactly what we're doing to get people onboarded, to get really good results with YouTube at small spend, get huge amounts of data, and then scale up from there as well. So I come from like a psychology background, and we're still quite a boutique team. So I think we have like 15 members of staff or something. So it's not kind of a crazy big agency. And yeah, we kind of we now do training. We have software and lots of different things, all YouTube ads related. So yeah.
Yeah, all things ads spin you off into all of these other like ideas and opportunities and things. And
yeah,
you've got this latest project as well with your YouTube X-Ray, which we'll chat a little bit about on today as well. So we've been able to get some more members on here. So looks like we're probably good to get started, and a bunch more people will join, I'm sure, like as we get rolling here. So how is share screen access working on your side? Does everything look good to go there? You've got the present now button at the bottom, right?
Yeah, I'm good. Let me just do my entire screen if you like, just to check it.
Yeah, that's perfect. And while Tom's bringing that up, guys, if you've got questions in the chat, or if you've got questions, let's definitely drop those into the chat. I'll be monitoring while Tom is going through some things. So we're, like always, we're going to dig into just some straight go-to tactic today, and how-to and SOPs and strategies that you guys can start using right now. And I'll do my best to monitor. And then if there's something that we use a lot is like we use this little hand raiser guy. So if anybody has like a specific question, I'll point that out, and then we can let's try to save those for the end. If it's something super short, pop it in the chat, and then Tom, I might give you a little heads up on that, and maybe you could touch on it in the deck, and then we'll do questions for sure at the end as well. So definitely hang tight if there's something you want to ask Tom directly too.
Cool. Okay. Perfect. And in terms of timings as well, just so, because I can talk and talk and talk. You might need to put me up at some point, Will.
Yeah.
Or get me to the point quicker. But yeah, what time do we normally finish up these calls?
So we usually wrap at the top of the hour, but like I go over all the time. So like it's really more up to you. Like if you need an extra 10 or 15 minutes, like the majority of the group is going to stay. So we don't want to keep you either, as long as you're willing to grace us with your time. We'll be happy to do so either way.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Well, I'm talking to a pretty educated audience, so I feel like I can fly through some of the content, but then get really specific with YouTube. And yeah, all good. Let's do this.
Fantastic. Let's dig in. The show is yours there.
Okay, thanks, bud. All right, so can you see my full screen now on this?
Yeah, you're good on my side as well.
Yeah, okay, cool. So this is, I gave this presentation recently. I've adapted it for you guys as well. And I think this kind of really sets out how to look at YouTube in 2023, especially if you're running it for yourself, if you're a brand, or if you're an agency running it for clients, or you're thinking about running it for clients as well. I want to share with you what's been working really well for us, not just from a media buying perspective, but also from deep SOPs around creative. And if you want to go into more detail and kind of ask me about what offers are working, I'm more than happy to share with you what we're finding that's working really well. But I think that kind of the biggest insight I can give you is the creative piece, because if you know how we approach creative, from scripting to the psychology behind that as well, and why we do things in certain ways, I think you're going to find it translates across the multiple platforms. So it's almost like if you record this call and send it to your creative team, I would hope they'll get much better results immediately. And so you can kind of use some of this content and then pepper it into what you're already doing, or just look at it as a complete overhaul and say, right, let's follow this strategy for YouTube as well. So the traditional way of advertising on YouTube typically looks like this, and this is how we've been doing it for years. Someone goes to YouTube, like a user goes to YouTube, they see an ad on YouTube, and then they get confronted with the in-stream ad. And this is where you kind of have like a short-ish ad, normally like 1 minute to maybe 3 minutes or something. And you have on the bottom right-hand corner, you have the skip ad button, and the bottom left-hand corner, you'll have the option to go and click and go to a website. So that's what the call to action looks like. And the approach would be like you run the ad, you get the people to click from the ad through to the website. We find VSLs work really well. So like a quite clean page, but just a pure like video ad, or sorry, not video ad, but like a video SEL there on the page to then sell onto the product. And typically that product would be sub $100. We tend to find that works really well, but with lots of upsells. So the average order value tends to be above $100. Normally 120 to 150 is like a sweet spot for us. Loads of people that we work with also do massive high ticket. So they do like webinars, that they tend to work really well still. And I know that everyone says webinars are dead and all that sort of stuff. It still works from YouTube. Yeah. Yeah, so we tend to find VSLs, webinars can perform really well for us. And we do a lot of lead gen to digital products. So it kind of, it's funny how like some people call like e-commerce certain things. Like physical products definitely are more of a challenge on YouTube than digital products, but you can sell right out the gate with YouTube as well. Like people just use it for lead gen sometimes and then think, oh, now I'll do the email thing. I find it better to just ask people from the sale straight away from YouTube, and you get typically better results, I find. But this has been definitely the traditional way, and what the data, the points that you're probably looking at when you're running your accounts are like your CTRs, your click-through rates, as well as your conversion rates on the site. If this is the kind of a quite simplistic customer journey. And from here, the only other factor that you need to know in terms of the mathematics of running the ad account is your CPMs. Because if you know those three figures, you can work out what your CPA is, because it kind of works into a formula that I'll show you in a second. But with your CPMs, I kind of was trying to understand exactly what influences CPMs, because we see CPMs vary wildly from day to day, week to week. And I couldn't work it out. And then we started looking into this about 2 years ago. And I think we figured it out about 18 months ago. Like, oh my word, something's dramatically changed here. And it impacts everything. So most of the time you're looking at things like targeting type, your bidding strategy, the competition in the marketplace, seasonality, like golf, for example, brilliant in the summer, not so good in the winter. Ad fatigue as well can play a big part. The length of a video ad can play a role in the CPM. So the longer the ad, the higher the CPM. And typically that's down to the fact that you're just taking up more time from a user, more real estate where other ads could have been showing. And lots of other factors as well. So minor factors, but we still couldn't work out, like every one of those has a minor input to what the CPM would actually be, but we still saw these quite big swings and no one had any answers for us. So we kind of try to figure it out ourselves. And when you look at the formula, it's such a critical part of your advertising. So this is the actual formula for working out what your CPA is on YouTube. So it's your CPM divided by your click-through rate multiplied by your conversion rate. That is the formula for YouTube advertising. And this is the kind of key, so to speak, for it. And when you have that, you can kind of keep an eye on that purely from a mathematical standpoint, and you should be able to keep an eye on your performance if you know how to control those figures. Now, the CTR, under our control. The conversion rate, under our control. Obviously, we're going to do our best to improve those numbers, but it's still like the impact we make has a direct impact on those figures of the CTR and the conversion rate. But CPM, I didn't really have a solid idea about what drove down the CPM or what
it's
drove
similar
up
on Facebook and TikTok too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like everyone can talk around it, but then you're like, see, my ad account doesn't say the same thing as what I thought it would say.
Yeah.
And it's confusing and it's frustrating. And so I was like, I've got to try and figure out that. If I can figure out what influences the CPM, then I can hopefully figure out how to control the mathematics of running an ad account. So let's say, for example, you had a $30 CPM, and your click-through rate was 1.2%, and your conversion rate from click to sale was 3%. Then pure mathematics, the cost per acquisition would be $83.33. Now, if you were able to improve the click-through rate, which is our creative team that's trying to do that all the time, create better ads, test lots of different things, you can get quite a big swing in it. So it could go from 1.2% to 2.2%, and even beyond there as well. Like we've seen CTRs around about 4% sometimes, but that's insanely high, and only for certain niches, I think, as well. Now, when you run this, this means theoretically that your cost per acquisition would go down to $45.45, but that never happened. And so the mathematics never really held up if you look at those numbers in isolation. So it was rarely that simple. And it has become harder than ever. And this change, it used to be like that. And then I think around about 2.5 years ago, YouTube changed how it bills people without telling people. So it was an algorithmic shift. I can kind of put on a bit of a tin hat sometimes and start getting a bit into my conspiracy theories if I go too deep into it. But definitely there was a change looking through the data. But don't worry, you and I got this. So I want to show you how to kind of get more control over the CPMs. And just so you know about me, I've been advertising online for 13 years. I've been running YouTube ads for 10 years. And we run a pay-for-performance ad agency. And last year we saw over 22 million in ad spend. And we also have some software at Bedurk.com, which is our X-ray software that we'll talk about. And we get to know what works and what doesn't work, because we not only run a load of accounts and spend our own money and then get paid for results, we also consult with a lot of big brands as well. So if I say anything, by the way, because it gets very lonely talking to just a computer screen in my office. Just to get that man a beer ticket if it's useful at any point. Just feel free to either type it into the comments or a shout out.
Right. I like that. I might have to steal that from you.
Yeah, it works really well. And you get to get drunk with a few people from time to time as well, which is good. So I've been connecting the dots, and these are all the things we looked at and have been impacting the CPM. So lots of different things, but not just CPM, but also impacting YouTube as a whole. More recently as well, with the typical advertising on YouTube, is they've taken away some of the bread and butter targeting you would do if you got started with YouTube ads, being like keyword targeting, topic targeting, placement targeting, which are kind of like what everyone used to get started, all gone away for machine learning campaigns. And machine learning campaigns or conversion focused campaigns are kind of what you want to set up. So it's almost the barrier to entry has got even more challenging. But aside from that, the biggest thing that we realized is that the relationship between your CPM and your CTR was unbelievable. So this is we're plotting loads of data, trying to understand the relationship between all the data points. We never really thought that CTR would impact your cost of advertising. But when we ran it, this is just for one account, we saw this trend over and over and over again. A little bit of variance in the data, of course, there, but that as the CTR goes up, the CPM goes up, which is kind of counterintuitive. It's almost the opposite on Facebook, as I understand it. So as you get a better,
this is starting to happen there as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it is for sure. Yeah. Okay,
so it changes the game then on how you approach the whole. Because once you know that, you're like, hang on a second, if I get more clicks and the creative team are high-fiving each other, but we're getting worse results, what on earth is going on? And we're like, it's really screwing with us for a little while. We're like, well, what do we want? Do we want lower click-through rates? Is that what we're honestly saying? And what we noticed is that as the CTR increases, the CPM increases as well. And it was we did some regression analysis and all the different campaigns we run, and it's kind of that relationship is very solid. And the trend is across pretty much every single account that we're running. And so we were wondering, like, well, why is that the case? And we realized it was like, if we kind of paired it back for a second, we look at YouTube as a platform, we realize there's like 3 parties involved. There's one, which is the customer or the user. They want their problem solved. That's why most people who we're interested in is going to YouTube. They're going to YouTube with a problem, and we want to try and help them solve it. The business is like, well, I want profitable customers, and kind of I want to run ads most efficiently to get customers at the right price. But then YouTube are like saying, well, I want users to stay on our platform because I don't want people clicking off the platform, because if they do, we can't show them ads any longer. Now, so there's like this conflict resolution between the three of them. And if we can work out in the middle what's the way to approach this, then we can figure out what to do. And this relationship here between, we realized that the click-through rate was not as important as reducing the CPM. Because for every 1% increase in click-through rates, you can actually see your CPM jump by like up to $25 by just increasing the CTR. So YouTube is saying, if they click away from this platform, it's going to cost you. And it's going to cost you a lot as well. So then you're like, well, I don't want everyone to click. I just want some people to click, the most qualified people to click. Which meant that now when we look at the CPM and the advertising cost, all of those things, yeah, make a difference. But by far the biggest is the CTR. Your click-through rate is the biggest thing, which is so counterintuitive. And it took me ages to get my head around this of like, what, okay, do I actually want less people clicking the ads? And that's kind of exactly what you do want, which changes the relationship you have with your user. So what we found is that if you go back to this mathematics we looked at earlier, if you have a higher click-through rate, what actually happens is your CPM can go up by like $50. And if it goes up by $50, then it's going to impact that CPA and take it to $75. And you're like, okay, sure, it's slightly better than $83, but the amount of work and energy and time that gone into reducing that CTR with lots of ad testing and things, by the time you've nailed it, that's very rarely 75. It could be much higher than that. And that's not all. It goes further as well, because what you also find is that if you start creating ads that are kind of starting to use more hype or scarcity or all the things you would kind of use in an ad to really be more persuasive, what ends up happening is that whilst that's a higher click-through rate, you've probably turned your ad into a bit of a clickbait type ad, which means that when people get to your website, they no longer convert at 3%. They might convert at 2.5% or something. And then all of a sudden you're back down to 90, like, or up to $90 cost per acquisition. So you can work harder, but you don't, it's not guaranteeing that you're going to get a better result with your ad campaigns. And that's what we kept on seeing. And whenever I explain this to other YouTube ad buyers and YouTube ad agencies, they're like, oh my word, that makes so much sense. And I'm like, yeah, it took us a while as well. And so they've changed their approach as well. So if the CTR increases the CPA, what the actual is kind of what we normally.
I wish you would have just said it, but you don't have to now.
I'm too British to actually say the actual word.
Yeah.
So with all of this included, like this is why we've changed our approach quite dramatically. The good news is YouTube is growing. The average session duration for a user is over 40 minutes. So they're spending a lot of time on the platform.
That's high.
Really high, yeah. And if people see you advertise on the platform, they see you as a big brand. So it's kind of got that instant heuristic or that shortcut that people are making mentally to think you must be good. People remember your videos, and the best educators now who can really provide value tend to win. You just need to have a plan of how to do this. So if you looked at it, and if you're an agency running ads for your clients, or an ad buyer running ads for some of your brands or people you work for, or if it's your own brand, have a look at your data, because I bet you'll see this very similar trend of data. And if you slightly shift the approach, what you'll find is that I believe there's two types of advertiser really. There's some people that are great at direct response. They've got the personality for it. They can sell really well. They can nail it. And there's some others that are like, they're never going to be great at that approach, but they still got an amazing personal brand, an amazing brand, and get great results and have good content and value. And those people are able to win in a very different way. And that's what I want to kind of share with you. So when we look at this relationship between all three, what we're saying is like, okay, cool. The video, the creative that we do needs to deliver real value and trust. It needs to create a no-brainer, simple break-even offer. If you can, that's kind of like get them in the door at break-even and then upsell them. And then ensure that the only people clicking from your ad need to be ready to buy. Basically, that's kind of like the framework or the context before we start creating ads, and the reason why we create them in a certain way. And this means that you want to make sure that you're creating trust-building, valuable content. We found that free offers, so it could be like lead gen and booking a call, can work really well. Or if you're selling straight off the page, around about $77 is kind of our upper limit. But yeah, we tend to find that we want to try and make it a no-brainer for people. So it's not a huge decision they're going to have to make. But on the ad, they're thinking, this is really good, and I want to go buy. I want to go to the next step with this.
Do you have any regression analysis from that $77 to $97 price point?
We haven't. What you mean through back to the CPMs and back to the CTR, or just like as a
CPM? Yeah, and just, you know, because if that 77 is the sweet spot, 97 is pretty common. We definitely run 97.
Okay. Well, maybe, yeah, I haven't done the analysis because I probably haven't got enough data points to kind of
between those two things. Yeah,
between all the offers we do, we've probably got like 5 offers at one, and it wouldn't be enough data to really compare it through. But yeah, I can definitely run that and have a look at it, because we just find that we got some really good results at around about 47, and upsell to AOV about 120. Yeah. But yeah, we'd be kind of like the upper limit we've tried to push is like $77. We tend to find it's easier to start them at a lower price and then do upsells than higher price and then keep on scaling up. But yeah.
Cool.
And then yeah, we want to make sure that we only qualify people when they're ready to buy. And the big thing that we found behind this is to pitch the offer with the price in the ad. So use the price of the product as the qualifier. So you're kind of anything you would mention in the sales page where this is the final price, including the guarantees and the bonuses or anything. If you can include that in your actual video, you'll find that you naturally get a lower click-through rate, naturally a lower CPM, but you've qualified the audience beforehand. So the only people clicking are going to be very likely to buy, which means on the site, you're probably going to get a better conversion rate.
Super high intent.
Precisely, yeah. So you're going to get far less clicks, but you're going to get hopefully very high quality clicks.
Yeah, something we talk about a lot is the messaging creates the intent. So that seems like it matches up for you as well. Yeah,
exactly. And that's kind of what we can talk about as well, because this is kind of like the framework to the ad, is to say, right, we've got like normally about 80% of this will be trust building and valuable content, and 20% is going to be your offer stack and your pitch at the end of the video. So yeah, 80-20 is how we tend to look at it. And really, we would run ads that could be up to 10 minutes in length. 5 minutes to 10 minutes in length is absolutely fine on YouTube. Some people say the longer the video, the higher the CPM. Sure, but not like, if you can get someone to watch 5 minutes of your content and you get like a high retention rate, you're going to find that as you run those ads, whilst that CPM might be a little bit higher for running a long ad, your CPM will be far lower because your click-through rate will be lower. So it's kind of that you're balancing the two cons, so to speak, and working out which one is more of a con. It's definitely the click-through rate.
So you're really using that creative as a disqualification and targeting technique, so that so much more work is done on the front end versus. So, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth by any means, but you know, the old sort of saying of like, let the sales page do the work, right? You're trying to get more of that into the creative.
Yeah, let the creative do the work, basically. Precisely, yeah. If it was my way, I would do everything on YouTube. I'd do the sales pitch, I'll do the whole relationship building on YouTube. And because the best thing of this is that so many brands we've worked with run the ad as an unlisted video. So you can't find it publicly, but then because it's like a sales pitch really. And so then you have this video that then just sends traffic to the website, and there's no earned media or owned media. It's purely just paid media. That's all you get out of the benefit of this. If you create content that's really good, and it's a 5 minute, 10 minute video, and it's really good quality content, you can use paid media to get all your sales in. But then you're going to have this huge video on your channel that is public because it's good enough content. Then now you get that massive organic benefit, which is really the big game anyway. Because ads will have good days and bad days. It's natural. But if you then say, right, well, the ad's got fatigue as an ad, but it hasn't got fatigue organically. It's now at 10 million views, and everyone in our industry has seen it, and it's still publicly available, and it's good content. You've got the brand now, and you've got kind of huge exposure for the brand. And it means you kind of got this you've got this earned media and this owned media, lots more subscribers, a lot more benefit there. And yeah, you get the best of both worlds, so to speak. So we're really merging all three.
Love it.
So the next question is, well, how do we maximize the number of people seeing the pitch? Because that's the key to then saying, right, how do we get, and the marker for us is to say, if it's 5 minutes, we want to get 50% of the video people that start the video to watch past 5 minutes. And if it's a longer video, if it's 10 minutes, we want to get at the 8 minute mark, we want 40% of people at least watching the video. which is not easy. You've got to create good content, but the pressure's off of trying to sell them. You're now just saying, I'm going to give you such valuable content. And normally most businesses can say, I'm going to put my best stuff in the video, and now I'm going to generate the attention and the need for listening in, basically. And that's why we built the software. So we've done this. We built the software that analyzes all these videos. I'm lucky to have Alex Hormozy as a buddy.
Is he using it? Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
And Kasim Aslam and now loads and loads of people are using it. By the way, it's completely free. So if people want to go do it, just go to bedurk.com and you can do a free one. And then you can even jump on a call and it'll be me on the call if you want to kind of look at your YouTube stuff, or if you've got a client that want to do it, more than happy to do it. We actually license it out to agencies as well if people are looking to do it, because it's great at closing clients and attracting clients for YouTube stuff. But yeah, so we run this on people's channels, and we then just basically find the best content they've already got and say, let's use that, and just make sure there's a call to action on it. If not, we'll kind of maybe put like a kind of a call to action link at the end of the video or in the description and all that sort of good stuff, just trying to make it a bit more promotional. But honestly, like, it's massively content over sales. So the better the content, it's almost like you buy that know, like, and trust from people, but then they also will be thinking about considering buying from you as well, if you can get people to watch a large proportion of your video. So that's what the software does. It helps us isolate those best videos and say, right, at the 8-minute marker, for some videos, it's like you get really, really high retention. That's like 58% of people watching over 8 minutes of the video. That's like quite insane if you think about how long that is. And that's from the start of the video to 8 minutes in. It's 58% of people still watching. That's quite crazy. But this is kind of some good content from a great presenter. But yeah, anything above 40% really, I think, is still promotion worthy and does really well. So what does that really mean? It means that, like, if you have a video that's 5 to 10 minutes and you get people like, let's say 55% of people watch up to 8 minutes, that's 55% of people have now got to the point where they know, like, and trust you and will consider your sales pitch and listen to what it is. So that's 55% of your original viewers, versus the old traditional way, which is like, okay, cool, you get a 2% click-through rate. And then maybe 10% of people see the offer, stick around on the VSL for long enough to see the offer. That means you get 0.2% of your original viewers seeing the sales pitch. And so it's just a very different approach. I'm almost like, I prefer my sales pitch to get in front of more people than 0.2%. And if I can get 55%, all the better.
So does that mean that you're actually running longer form content on YouTube versus shorter form content on YouTube?
Yeah, precisely that. Yeah, we're finding much better results with longer form content. Yeah. We're still getting good results with shorter form content, but those people that can create good content and good value without, and don't have to be brilliant at selling, then we find it far easier to get results with them with longer form content, for sure. Cool. So yeah, so this is kind of like, would you prefer 550 versus 2 hot visitors? I would. So it's like, this is the formula, but well, let's break down the video. But before we do that, I want to show you my SOP for what questions I tend to ask as I'm thinking about this promoting a brand. But I'll just stop for a second, just make sure I'm just checking and make sure that this is all useful and valuable content so far and makes sense.
Oh, you've got me completely hooked. By just a show of hands, if you guys can use the little hand raise. Are you digging this? Okay, we're getting a lot of hands for sure.
Cool. Is that digging it or is that questions?
I think it's digging it. I think I gave the right instructions on that one. But
okay.
Yeah, this is good stuff. I like how you're, challenging everyone's thought process to think about it a little bit differently, right? Like, to create the intent through the creative versus just relying on the ad platform to do the work for you, essentially, which is what a lot of the industry preaches.
Yeah, precise. It's a very like, I have to explain things and give context behind it, because otherwise people wouldn't either believe me or think that, like, I've gone mad in terms of saying you want less clicks from your ads. It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
It's a difficult thing to get across, but once you see the kind of the relationship between click-through rate and CPMs, you're like, okay, that kind of, if you did approach this differently, I wonder what would happen. That's what we came with curiosity, and we did it, and we're like, oh, right, this is working so much better. But also it works with so many more brands as well. So it's almost like content wins the day rather than the best salesperson, which is kind of the best approach for YouTube, because now YouTube will probably over time get more and more good content ads out there rather than just salesy, wait 90 seconds and I'll share with you everything you ever need to know and all that sort of stuff, that kind of like the hype that you see on YouTube most days. Because let's face it, no one gets up in the morning and thinks, oh, can't wait for another day of YouTube ads. Like no one does that. So I tend to do a free writing exercise that I find just opens me up a little bit to kind of thinking about new approaches. I do this for myself. I do this for when I think about a brand as well. And it kind of comes to 19 questions. So these are questions that, I don't know if anyone's ever done free writing before. It's such a good strategy. Not that I ever came up with it at all. But free writing is almost, the way to do it is to say, find yourself 5 minutes of time per question. And all you're allowed to do, you can put a little bit of music, but not lyric-based music. So like a bit of like background music. You can put it on, but make sure you've got no distractions. And all you're going to do is you're going to put pen to paper. I don't do this on anything, just literally pen and paper or pencil and paper. And the idea is for 5 minutes, you've got to keep your hand moving and you are not allowed to take your pen off the paper or allow it to stop moving. So it's almost like, even if you're writing like and saying, this is a silly exercise, thanks Tom for ruining my afternoon or something, you've got to keep on writing. You just keep on, the hand's got to keep moving, pen's not allowed to come off the paper. And that what you answer a question for 5 minutes, because the first minute you're like, this is crazy, this is all the most obvious stuff comes out. The next 2 minutes you get bored and you can't think of anything. The last kind of couple of minutes you might write something so insightful that just came from like your unconscious, and it sounds a bit woo-woo, but honestly you get some amazing insights from time to time, and it's definitely worth it.
It's usually true, right? The people who push through and like, let's say that you were to say, hey, write down 10, they struggle on the first 2 or 3, right? But then when they push for 7, 8, 9, that's when the good ideas are starting to come out.
Yeah, precisely. That's so true. And it's kind of, it's a case of like having the discipline just to cause your brain to stop working, basically.
Yep.
And start just naturally thinking, but in a way that's like your conscious brain is occupied. And the great thing is you're never going to show anyone this, so just literally write down anything, even if it's complete garbage and you know it is, just keep writing, and let it go. Because yeah, you might find that as you write it, the end of that 5-10 minute exercise, you might think, well, I didn't even write down anything useful, but you're still getting your brain to practice that. And I find I can get some really good insights doing this way. I mean, you can always use Chat GPT as much as you want, but I don't think you're going to ever get like the breakthrough deep thought that's like, I've got a new crazy cool hook that's kind of beneath all the language. Is actually kind of like, that's emotionally what's going to move people. So these are the questions I would ask myself, and I'm happy to kind of walk through. So the first question here is like, who is your viewer and what they're searching for? Like, have a think about who your viewer is. Even look up YouTube videos and like see what other people are creating content around. And start thinking, first of all, about the title of your video and the thumbnail of your video. And that sounds a bit weird to start there, but I want you to like just try and imagine what would be the most interesting visual to look at, and what you're kind of really trying to tell people is, and to kind of like, that's like try and aim for first. Because I always think like the content you'll come up with anyway, but if you think of an idea and it's a different idea than you're used to, which is like the visual of the video, or the title of the video, you think, God, if I could create a video that stacks up and answers that title of that video, that would be really cool. And then the challenge is on. You can create the content for the title. So I'd kind of like play around with that for 5 minutes. Then I would think about what does my video, what does my user actually want? So it's like, right, your feature outcome or your feature benefit would be like, they want a tastier coffee, for example. But the actual outcome of that is like, well, what would that give them? They would be like, right, they can actually relax in the morning, or they can feel good, or they can wake up in the morning. Okay, cool. That would be like your outcome of that. I shouldn't have used a coffee machine here. I found it difficult to kind of bring that out too quickly. But also with certain products, they're going to have an identity. You're going to give your viewer an identity. And so what identity do they want? So when I buy a car, for example, and we've got like a 4x4 type thing, like a SUV that's great for 3 kids, but there's a certain level of, I'm buying the car based on what fits my identity. If I went too flashy, that's not going to be for me. If I went too low cost in the market, it's probably not going to be for me anyway. And it's kind of also, it says something about me. Like if I buy this, maybe it shows other people that I have like adventure. I don't know, but the car says a lot about my personality. It goes the same for loads of products that you buy, and whatever product it is you're selling, think about what identity you're really giving to people, or at least what identity they want to have in front of others, and maybe what status they would have as well. So what would that give them? What sort of is it a status symbol? Does it kind of make them feel that they are part of a group, or part of a exclusive group, or part of a belonging group? Because that could be, your product could be a symbol of that, but also the emotional benefits of it as well. So we're looking at kind of like how are they going to feel when they get all of this? And then it's like what they're going to see. Like, so VAK stands for visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. So it's kind of saying what is it that they're going to see about themselves, or how they're going to hold themselves and visually see themselves, how they're going to, what sort of things would they be hearing in the environment around them, and how they feel just naturally if they got everything they ever wanted. So again, I'd write about that for 5 minutes. Then, I mean, we've got loads of questions here. The one that I think, and I can give this to everybody, by the way, if this is useful.
Heck yeah.
Okay, cool. The one thing that I think really allows us to stand apart in some of the creative that we'll do is we will try and look for this. So we'll say, like, there tends to be two types of people. There's two types of ad buyer. So those people that maybe follow systems and get good results, and there's some people that just try and wing it and don't get good results. It could be that there's kind of so in the guitar world, there's dabblers and real guitar players. Now I can show you an example of this in a second, but it allows you to kind of like say, are there two types of person in an industry, and can you separate those up? Separate those out. So there's like content advertisers and there's direct response advertisers, different types of advertisers. But I want you to think about that and then call out these two types of people, and think about how they do things differently and what their behaviors are to get different results. So in the guitar world, if it's a dabbler, they're the sort of person that would get the guitar out on the weekend, fumble around a little bit and just have fun with it. Absolutely fine, but probably not going to learn anything, compared to a real guitar player that would be like, right, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to do my drills and spend half an hour having fun doing that, and I'm going to pick up the next lesson next week. And at the same time, still playing the guitar, but doing it in a very systematic way, and they get to learn and develop very quickly. So what we're trying to do is like identify those two different identities in a marketplace, because then you can say, right, well, what's the real root cause for the struggler's problem? That's the bit that I want everyone to really think about. Like the person that's not doing so well, the dabbler, or let's try and understand like what's the real root cause of why they're not achieving the result they actually need to get. So this will come back to your experience and what it is. If you're positioning yourself, or if it's your client, you need to ask them. And you need to say, right, what is it that allowed you to help people really deep down? You actually get the result with people. What is it that kind of is deep within people that means that like they either struggle or they succeed? And so, for example, for myself, I found out that kind of CPM and CTR was like a relationship there, and that's what is causing so many people to not get the result with YouTube. They're not aware of this, and it's kind of making it more difficult for them to get results. And once you explain it to people, they're like, oh my word, that makes so much sense. And so now you're saying like there's a root cause that means you either get winners or losers, basically. And if you can identify those two types of people, it allows people to realize, oh my word, I know now which side I fall on. I'm either the dabbler, yeah, that sounds like me, or I'm a real guitar player. But the reason why they're a dabbler in the first place would need to be figured out. But like that root cause of why they're a dabbler, it's because they've never probably been taught that they have to do systematic education. They never had that around their guitar playing. Or actually, the way we did it with the guitar one was to say, some people are dabblers because they don't really have a fun way of practicing. So they're like, well, I'll have fun, but I'm going to nerdle around a little bit. But most people think of practice as being boring, whereas the way that you need to do practice has to be a fun way. And then you can teach people that. So we're kind of, what we want to try and do is think of those two different people, think of the root cause of what's the difference between those two people. And then you're able to then highlight that in your video and say, you're tackling the real root cause with your framework or your system you're going to be promoting. Because that's the thing you want to talk about, is your solution, your unique mechanism. That's the whole thing you're promoting. But that thing that you've got, your framework, your blueprint, your system, whatever you're selling on your video, you're saying it works because it fixes the root cause, and it turns you from a dabbler into a real guitar player, or it turns you from a loser into a winner because the system's right. And that's really the crux of the message, I think, for most of the videos that we create, is that we're trying to identify that and say that we were able to figure this out when no one else could, because of our unique point of view and our experience, and where our background is, why we've led to this. And we took on this problem and we tried to fix it for people. And that's when we realized that, holy crap, there's actually a root cause to all of this, why people don't get the result. If you're able to kind of unpack that for people, then like make them realize, they're going to be so open to thinking, okay, how do we do this? You're obviously the expert. You've been through this. You've seen, you've got your frameworks. You know how this works. Let me adopt your way. And that is the way in which we're able to share with people why things work and how people take action. Because the tension, which is the evergreen scarcity, so to speak, that's actual natural, is the tension you want to cause in people. Because the ad now no longer becomes, are you going to click the link to go to buy the product? It becomes, are you going to click the link to affirm that you're going to be this new identity? And if you don't click it, you're saying to yourself, I'm never going to be that identity.
I like that.
And
so they're confirming their transformation.
Precisely. At the start, at the kind of the first click is to say, this is your first micro commitment to be like, are you going to be a real guitar player, or are you going to be a dabbler all your life? Up to you.
Totally.
And it's like, I now can't click the link because my identity wants to be the person that that I want to be. And so that's kind of like a big part of the success of a lot of our videos. Is we try and pull on, like, this video. If you click this video, it's part of your identity. This is going to be who you're going to become. If you don't click it, you'll confirm that you're probably not going to become that person. And that's kind of fine too. If you want to be a dabbler, we've got no problem with that. It's just that if you don't want to be a dabbler and you want to be a real guitar player, this is your first opportunity to click. And it's a simple click to go through to the next stage. And also, hey, by the way, if you buy this product, you also are further confirming that this is actually your new identity. So a lot of the decision making is, the tension around it is about their identity, not about the product being sold.
And you're from what you've seen working with other marketers, media buyers, etc., why don't more do these exercises?
In terms of the free
research.
writing and going deep into this?
Yeah, and the research.
I think that the research is very light that people tend to do, and they think they've done a good job of the research. That's how I honestly feel. Like, if you go and go onto SimilarWeb or something, you kind of get lost in the data, then you're like, okay, cool, I've done my research. Or like people do custom avatars and be like, okay, let's spend a day in the life of a customer and think about their lives, which is all helpful and all useful. But I don't think anyone's paired together the psychology and the persuasion in a way that can be evergreen. You know, you get like the Cialdinis of the world and and a lot of the behavioral economists. I can't say the word now. Behavioral economics. Those experts of those areas will tell you, like, hey, here's one trick that you can kind of do that will improve conversions by this much. And it's taken into like such isolation that it's very difficult to then be like, how do I use that reliably in the future? And so we've kind of, I suppose over 10 years, it's kind of like started with a framework called Educate, and I'll talk about that in a second. And it knits us all together, but it's understanding the kind of principles at play and then saying, well, how do we do that? And how do we put that stuff into a video ad that's applicable for pretty much any marketplace, and just pulls on human psychology. So it's kind of an understanding of the psychology, but then an understanding of, like, when it comes to promoting a video or promoting a product, we also need to kind of consider those things as well. So I think that's why, because it's not been laid out for people in a simple way before.
Totally.
Because that's one down here as well, is that this works really well for us as well, is that we say, once we've created the framework that we know works, we want to tell the story behind that framework. And the story should be, it was really effective when it was first created. You found the solution, it worked, it fixed the root cause, people got the result. But there was a drawback. And the drawback was it was too expensive, or it took too much time, or too much effort, or too difficult, or it's too complex, it took too much time, or you can only get access if you worked on a one-to-one basis with somebody, and it just wasn't a scalable model at all. So all these things are drawbacks, but not back to the efficiency of the product or the solution. It was more like it worked really, really well, but it just cost too much for a lot of people. So then you had to kind of go back to the drawing board again, because once you highlight the weakness, people trust you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you say, right, so we have to go back to the drawing board again, which is saying, oh, we're not going to sell it because it goes against our values to not have this right. And then you can say, right, we managed to go back to the drawing board and fix this so that it's still as effective, but now it works in half the time. And that's kind of like you say, right, a dabbler would take this 300 weeks to get this done in the past, but now it can be done in 3.5 weeks. But those people that are real guitar players get this in insanely quick results now. So you can kind of explain like that was the drawback. It no longer is a drawback any longer. So you build the trust and then strengthen the argument by saying it's fixed now and it works really well. But it's kind of like it's that being very open with it, and then you can build your trust around that as well, and then offer your pitch at the end of it.
Fantastic. Rita just said it's like a mini webinar.
It's like a mini webinar. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's kind of pulling all the pieces together to then say, right, how do we think about this to put this into a YouTube video? So I would just say that whenever you do this, and I'll come back to my slides here, the slides here. So when we call this educate. So it's a kind of framework here. So we start by the free writing, but we start with an action plan. So any of the videos we create, we try and turn it into some sort of system or blueprint. Even if it's a physical product, we'd almost like unbox it and show how the product actually works, like the underbelly of the actual product itself. Like, why is it so effective? Why is it fix the root cause of bad coffee? Or what do you know what I mean? Like, it's trying to fix the problem for people. And you want to kind of show it them to this in this way, like it's a framework of some sort, because your viewers will get it. It means immediately, but it's an educational video. Even though it's a sales pitch, they don't realize it's a sales pitch because it just feels like an educational video. And you do provide really good value, but it positions you as an expert instantly. It builds trust really quickly with people because they're like, oh, I've got a guide to walk me along this journey. And it opens a loop in the viewer's mind, because as soon as you see it, like, well, now I want to know what all the things are that make this thing work. And it makes it really easy to structure the teaching that you're going to like walk them through as well. And it really subtly sells everything you do, and so much more. But like, yeah, so we'll normally try and find like a framework that we can present on. I use educate, which is like an acronym. So it's 7 letters that mean something different every time. But it could be anything you're presenting that needs to walk through like the framework. So it's like educate them on the framework first, and then once you've kind of got your teaching and your kind of your inspired message you have for people, once you've got that, then just use educate to frame it up, basically. And that's the skill set that we can run through. So yeah, so let me know how I'm going on time, because I'll crack on with this educate format if that's good with you, so we can like put it all together.
Yeah, let's definitely go through educate, and then if you're okay, then we can do 10 minutes of Q&A or 5 or 10 minutes of Q&A after that, but it's totally up to you.
Cool. Okay, yeah, perfect.
Cool, let's do that.
So the educate framework is my go-to, has been for many, many years. We developed it. It's gone through its iterations as well, based on everything that's happened in the marketplace as well. But it stands for like, each letter is a word. So the first one is aim. So you've got your framework, you've got your like what you're going to teach people about, and this is going to help you structure your content. So do you remember, like, as soon as you start your video, you're going to start teaching. Go straight into the teaching of what it is you've got, and then at some point you're going to pepper in your aim, which is really kind of like 1 or 2 sentences to explain who this video is for. You've probably done that with your title of your video, so they've called out like, hey, if you like, I don't know, whatever the title of your thumbnail is. But you do want to mention in the video at some point early on to say the demo and the psychographics, the immediate wants, the desired outcome, and the emotional benefits. Now, this is what you've done from the free writing exercise. So you've thought about this, you may have kind of written these things down, and then it's just a case of like pulling them back into the ad here. So let's say, for example, we have let's go for a golf example. So I'll show you here. So it's like this right here is the XYZ system. So that's the action plan we're talking about. That's kind of like the framework or the blueprint. And you're going to literally hold that up on screen or show them an animation. And it's going to help you fix your slice for good. So that's the immediate want. Now, I know it might sound too good to be true, but if you're a weekend golfer looking to post some of your best ever scores, leaving your buddies wondering what the heck just happened, then let's unpack this together. So the demo and the psychographics is a weekend golfer. That's how they would refer to themselves as. They're not like a pro golfer. They're just like quite keen, but they play every weekend. Another desired outcome of this would be like posting your best ever scores. Yeah, that's kind of, I want to play the best game of golf I've ever played. And the emotional benefit is like leaving your buddies wondering what the heck just happened. That feels good for most people. They're like, yeah, I can't wait to
as a golfer. Yeah, as a golfer.
Yeah, exactly. You want to be like shaking hands on the 18th green and be like, yeah, I win this time. Yeah. And then the question is, are you ready to fall back in love with your golf game? All right, then let's do this. So this is another emotional benefit of falling back in love with your golf game. Loads of people that have the slice have it for years and years, and they sometimes feel like giving up on golf because they're just like, I just can't play this game any longer. It frustrates me every time I go out. I'm bored of it. I don't want to play any longer. But once upon a time, they were in love with their golf game. So that's obviously more than one sentence, but it doesn't take long. You can say that really quickly, and you can probably condense it down even further. But for the illustration here, I just wanted to kind of like show you how you kind of start putting this stuff together.
So this is like the first 5 to 10 seconds of the ad. This is like the opening hook of the video.
Yeah, well, do you know what? Nowadays, I would actually just get straight into teaching. So let's say, for example, especially if it was running as like what I call an in-feed video ad, which is where people have to click the thumbnail first. It might say, I don't know, I could have one which might say, how to crush YouTube ads in 2023. I wouldn't do any introduction to myself, no logo about myself or a logo about my company or anything like that, or even introduce the topic at all. I'll be like, all right, there's 4 things you need to master if you want to crack YouTube ads. Here they are. First of all, it's ads. Second of all, it's your audience. Third of all, it's your account. And fourth of all, it's your mindset or something. Whatever 4 things you wanted to talk about. So my first 5 seconds would literally be like, I'm going to teach you these 4 things in a deep way. And then once I'm like 10, 15 seconds in, I'll be like, hey, by the way, this is right here that I'm going to walk through the system with you. And I'll kind of like go through all the things I've mentioned here, basically. But so it's teaching first. You're leading with the teaching, and then you're after that going into the sales pitch.
Little secret for the group. That's some of our best ads, by the way. You've seen them on Facebook. Like it works 100%.
Give me 1 second as well. I've just got to knock in.
This is the moment. Yeah, go for it.
I'll be back in 2 seconds. 1 sec.
Cool, no worries. I saw, Nicole, you dropped a little nugget in there about wonder how to do this shortly with messaging. Let's definitely, I'm assuming that you're saying like, how do I sort of like tighten this up is what I'm assuming. And let's definitely.
Yeah, and this example is like perfect because in my mind, it immediately sounds like an ad, like sales like. That's kind of what I avoid most of the time and try to make it as relatable. And this is like a great way to do it because it doesn't sound like an ad. It sounds like a conversation. Well,
like think about like your guys' remodeling client, right? Or like the kitchen remodels or whatever. If it was getting into like, here's the top 5 trends for remodeling your mid-century home in 2023. You know, they might be like, oh my God, I'm getting ready to buy a, mid-century home. And, I want to know whatever it is that, the latest trend of design is, so maybe that's an example to like, put it in, real world perspective for like something you're working on,
Right. And we started with something like that. We actually moved to like 5 signs that your kitchen might need an update instead of remodel. So it sounds less like aggressive, really.
Totally.
And it really does start a conversation. And I think this example is like such a great way of that.
Totally.
Yeah, that's so cool. I caught the tail end of that.
Nice.
And, yeah, if you've got like a 5-step, 3-step, whatever it might be, like start with that content, make the content really good. And you approach it from a standpoint of like, I'm actually just going to give you really helpful, useful information that builds your brand up and so people trust you. And then before they know it, 5 minutes in, 8 minutes in, you've got a sales pitch, to listen to it. So like, well, I've just got loads of value and this might be the next logical step for me because people want to buy, but they want their problem solved. And a lot of time people want to part with money and to feel good about that and value the decision they're making. So you just helping them along the way to make a good decision,
Absolutely. So that's a good transition back into so we've got aim,
Yeah, I know it takes a little while, this one, doesn't it? I'm going to try and crack through them a little bit quicker.
It's all good, no worries.
So you've got difficulty next, which is kind of what's standing in their way? What obstacles do they have to get this? So again, you're teaching, chucking a name. You're teaching, now you're chucking a difficulty. So again, it's one sentence you're going to pepper in during your teaching, and you say, look, here's the current challenge, here's the emotional pain associated with that, and here's what they stand to lose if they don't fix this. We've got to make sure that they realize that if they don't fix this, this gets worse for them. So again, keeping with the golf example, you might say, look, now here's the truth. If you currently stand over the ball with zero confidence and want to snap your clubs in frustration every time you watch your ball banana off into the trees or the lake, then this next part is really important, because if you don't fully get it, you'll actually embed bad habits and your golf game will never improve. So again, just peppering it in. But again, what you've got current challenge, which they're watching that ball banana off into the trees of the lake. And that comes from like the visual and the auditory and the kinesthetic, like they're watching the ball banana off. Like that's how they would phrase it. And it's kind of quite a colloquial term they'll use. The emotional pain being like, if you currently stand over the ball with zero confidence and want to snap your clubs in frustration, it's almost like you can imagine someone who's a slicer would be like, yeah, that sounds like me, but like in a self-identifying way. And then here's what they stand to lose. They embed bad habits and your golf game will never improve. Like it's not, I'm not asking them to kind of go out of the ordinary and think about something completely alien to them. They're like, yeah, I get that. I get it.
All these things sound like me.
Okay, yeah, okay,
yeah.
Perfect. Unfortunately, I don't sell anything like that. I have a client that sells golf stuff. I wish I had a golf stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you kind of go through the difficulty. Again, teach, chuck in a name. Teach, chuck in a difficulty. And at some point, you want to chuck in your undertaking as well. So your undertaking here is your why. So this is where you introduce two people. You found there's like, when you looked at this, you realize, hang on a second, there's two types of people in this industry. And you could put up a case study here. You could say, I've helped golfers for years, but we never really tackled the slice that lots of people experience. And when I did further study on it, I realized actually there's two types of people. There's people that can constantly hit it straight, and there's people that can completely slice into the trees. What's the difference in the two? Those that thrive and those that struggle with this. And we did this this is the example I was talking about with the guitar. I'm not sure if we're able to hear this, so I'm going to stick my microphone to my computer and hopefully this will come through. One sec.
Cool.
After teaching over 35,000 guitar students just like you, I can determine with incredible accuracy whether you'll fizzle out and quit or if you'll become an actual guitar player. Do you have any guesses yet? Watch very closely for the answer. The top shows a person who just dabbles at guitar. They'll go all in on something exciting, then have long stretches of time without actually playing. Every time they start up again, they go back to the beginning, never building on top of previous success. On the bottom is a person who quickly becomes a real guitar player because they commit to playing consistently above all else. These people go on to be real guitar players who can learn new songs fast, play for their spouse, jam around the campfire, or play in their church band. Every single one of them started right where you're at, sitting in front of a computer with your guitar in hand or nearby, sitting on the cusp of a major decision. Will I be a dabbler or will I be a guitar player?
All right, did you hear that?
Yeah, totally.
Oh, perfect. Okay, cool. Yeah. So you get the example of like how we approach that. It's kind of saying there's the dabbler and the real guitar player, and you can see their practice. And people can just like self-identify very quickly and say, yeah, I'm a dabbler, or actually, yeah, I'm a real guitar player. But most people are going to think to themselves, like if they on YouTube trying to become better,
they know.
Like, yeah, I know I'm a dabbler. Yeah, exactly. I don't need to tell anyone about it. I just know deep down myself that I'm a dabbler. Yeah. And also we kind of pulled on some of those really emotional things, which would be like they want that status of playing for a loved one, or playing in the church band, or playing around the campfire. They kind of have these bucket list things they want to achieve and have that identity or have that status of doing that as well. So we can pepper that in. But we want to make sure the audience knows why it's important to you, why you helped people. Like, and this needs to pull on things like it took too much time, it was too difficult, it's too complex. It was like all these things that were stopping people from actually achieving the result. Why is that important to you? Why does that kind of, what do you stand for, stand against? Why is it why did you go on this mission? Like what motivated you to fix this for good? And so that's really important to go through. So yeah, share your values at this point, because every time people buy from you, they're buying for the emotional benefit, but they also want it done in a certain way. They want it done in a fast way, a slow way, a classy way, like a methodical way. Some people have like real strong values around the purchases they make. So they want the emotional result. They want that, but they want it done in their way as well. And that's what that connects with with a brand, when the emotion and the value is paired together for them. So it's kind of, if you can highlight that, that makes people really, really bond with you. Cool. So that undertaking is important. The credibility then steps in. So it's like, cool, you went on this mission to try and figure this out. That's your undertaking. Why you though? Why should we even listen to why you went on this mission, and etc. So why were you qualified to take on this mission in the first place, to fix this problem for people? And I want you, this is the point where you have an opportunity to show your unique point of view. So we do a lot of work with YouTube channels and help them grow. And we help them kind of expand by kind of running ads on their organic content to kind of get a lot more exposure and drive leads and sales very profitably. But when I talk about it, I'm like, look, I'm not an organic guy. I don't know how, like, what time of day is the best time to release your video, and I don't know what your thumbnail and your SEO should all be about. I don't know how, and I don't know how to do all the high levels of engagement. What I do know as an ad buyer is your organic stuff can sell, and I can put some ad spend behind the good stuff and make it skyrocket much faster than you could do organically. But that's because I have a unique perspective. My unique point of view is different. But I've worked out that, like, you can marry up organic and ads and pull it together and get really good results. And so that's kind of like, that's why me, like, that's why I should take this. And I've got 10 years worth of running ads as a direct response advertiser, and I've only finally looked at the organic side as a viable option to drive more traffic. So that's kind of like the CTR and the CPM discovery could be your real root cause, whatever other reasons it can be, but you need to find something that people go, oh my word, that makes so much sense now. I realize why I have this problem. I realize that I've never seen it from that perspective before, and this makes so much sense. That's kind of like the real key to why people would trust you over everything else they've tried in the past, because you're attacking it from a different perspective, Cool. And then, so you have your system, you've taught most of your system at this point. And if you want to put a call to action in your video, like some people that just want to do organic video, I'd say you can stop there. You kind of like peppered in all your training. But then if you're doing a call to action and you're wanting to run it as an ad, then you need to do the last three parts, which is the adapt. So you've got your system, but then your system needed to be adapted because it wasn't perfect, really effective, but it wasn't perfect yet. So really effective, but it wasn't ready due to the economics. It's too expensive for most people. It worked, but it took a little bit too long. It worked, but it was a little bit too complex, or it worked, but the access just wasn't available for everybody. It doesn't work at scale. And what you're saying to people is like, we didn't come out with this product yet because it wasn't ready for everybody. It was effective, but it wasn't ready for everybody. Like our software, we built it in beta, we've tested it with loads of people. They absolutely love it, but I'm like, this is hard work until the software really gets good. And now we've got to a point where it's actually easy to run. And it's like, cool, now we can go sell it because it actually works at scale. But yeah, before that, we never touched it. So now it's fixed, and it's like the new version is what we can talk about. So you want to show that it had a slight drawback, you fixed it, and that's that trust element. But then that leads you into a further trust point, which is where you're saying, right, people like us, people who are just like us, customers that are buying stuff, that we're getting loads of, we're emerging into the kind of media space, and people are picking us up, picking up. But it's not necessarily you as an individual, you as a brand. It's more of the system you developed is now like big, like getting all this PR, getting all this press coverage. Everyone's raving about it because it's so good. Your testimonials are thrown in here as well, because what you want to show people is like, look, people like us, we buy things like this. So your viewers feel like, I'm just like everybody else I can see on this video buying this product. I want to buy this product too. And they're getting the result, and they're getting the result in a way which is the emotion, and also it's done the way they like it as well. And then the last part is your exit. So the exit part of your video is going to be your call to action, so that people are exiting the video at this point. So pitch your offer. Remember, put your core offer down. So you say, look, if you're interested in taking this further, then here's the offer I have for you today. You tell them exactly what it is. Then you quote your price. Here's how much it costs. Here's who it's for, and here's who it's not for. And then if there's any objections that people have, you need to kind of make sure you've got bonuses that cover that off as well. So you say, hey, by the way, this product works really efficiently. Sometimes when you're looking to achieve this, it can I don't know, I can't think of a good example, but like, say for example, it's a weight loss product. I can say sometimes if you're like down the supermarket and you don't know which new food to buy, then if that's the case, then we've got like a shopping list for you, so you can literally just put that onto your phone, and every time you go shopping, it's there, and you can get all your groceries exactly in the right proportion and which ones to buy and all the substitutes if it's not available. So it's like literally you can't go wrong with your new diet that goes along with this fitness program, something along those lines. So it's like a bonus that hasn't been included in the core offer, but is so valuable and handles the objections that people have, or the bits like when they're like, oh, do you know what? I don't know if I can't do that bit. That's going to be annoying. So you just think of everything that the viewer might think, and then create bonuses to handle that. And then add a really good guarantee to make people feel really certain that like, cool, I've got nothing to lose. And then building that tension again. Tell them like, here's what you stand to gain and what you stand to lose, but make that about their identity. You need to be subtle with it, but you can say, look, this is your chance to become the real guitar player. Click the link and start this journey together, because we'd hate for you to keep on dabbling around, keep on maybe having fun, but never really progressing. You want to pull on that identity again, just to say this is your opportunity to transform. And then you go call to action and say, here's what you want to do for the next steps, and everything involved in taking the next steps, buying the product, signing up, booking a call, whatever it would be that you're asking people to do. And that is the process for Educate. That's kind of our SOP as such, and walking you through how we do it.
Love
so
it.
That, yeah, there's so much more I could talk about. And we can do
I know.
But yeah, hopefully that's been useful to go through that stuff.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I like the way that you have sort of synthesized, even for everyone today, how to take the research. And we didn't get into anything about campaigns or structure, but like literally 80% of the success is rooted in what we just covered right now. Right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's, you know, and it revolves around the research, and it gives people a lot of things that they can think about that can be used in any paid social network, whether it's Facebook, you know, Google, YouTube, you know, TikTok, etc. I mean, I picked up some things, I wrote some things down, and I was like, oh, I'm going to use this. So we're all learning all the time, you know, and I think it was awesome, you know, what you shared. You know, would love to. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, does anybody have a question, whether you want to unmute or pop it into the chat? Anything in particular that you want to ask Tom specifically about YouTube or something that we touched on today? Or you want to use the little hand raise? Colin, yeah, fire away, Colin.
Thanks, Tom. That was awesome.
That was good. Good to hear.
I had just a quick question. It was in relationship to a lot of the things that you were sharing at the very beginning. Context on my end, I am a creator, so I make music, I do a lot of stuff like that. So a lot of what you're saying really resonates with me in terms of like entertaining, teaching, and then it's like, oh, by the way, like buy my shit.
Okay, yeah.
But because of that, I also then reason why how I found Will is having a little bit more challenges on the other side of things. And so my question is surrounding, like you said, the barrier of entry is a little bit higher now from like a technical perspective for people starting on YouTube. So I'm wondering, do you have, or do you know of, or do you facilitate any sort of, you know, honestly, similar to what Will's doing here in terms of like Facebook related and TikTok related stuff, but for YouTube, for people who are really trying to get started on YouTube, but they have some experience running on other platforms?
Yes. So I'll ask that question again, just really simply, so because my brain will catch up with you.
Yeah, I think he's just saying, do you have any training where he can like break into YouTube, you know, where like, so that he can start that pathway into, you know, doing it really well?
Yeah, without being like on the full, like, because I'm not running a whole agency, it's me, I'm independent. So I'm looking for that pathway through that barrier of entry.
You want a course, basically. You want to kind of like laid out training, ready to go, so to speak, about how to do the media buying as well. Is that right? Yeah, cool. So yes, we do have trainings. I want to be courteous to Will as well. This isn't meant to be a sales pitch or anything like that.
Yeah.
So we have trainings. We kind of we have, because of all the changes being recent, we've kind of pulled a lot of trainings we've sold in the past, just because it's somewhat made redundant. And we now have brand new trainings about to be launched. So if you are interested, just reach out. Probably best by email. I can put my email up on the page.
Yeah, or if you want to pop the link, everything we do is paid social, so that's why you're here. Like, feel free to share that stuff with the guys.
Yeah, okay, cool. So if you email, this one comes straight through to me, by the way. So the email is tom@bidurk.com, bidurk.com. It's kind of
there.
And also if you do run YouTube content, we kind of have like trainings available, so you can like work out how to do the creative piece of this. We call educate training, and also we have amplify training as well, which is like how to run these accounts to get those videos in front of people. And then we have like full-blown YouTube ad training as well. So we have the training, we have the agency done for you, and also we do like our software that we've used, or we use with YouTube channel owners. We kind of audit their channels really quickly with the software. That's what it does, and helps us identify exactly which videos to promote. We license that to other agencies as well. So if you've ever wanted to get into YouTube with your clients and haven't done so yet, it's literally the easiest pathway in. And yeah, we've been absolutely nailing it with clients, using the software to identify the right videos to promote. And then once we've identified those already existing organic videos, so there's no more creative work for us to do, we then say, great, we'll use that, we'll amplify that as a starting place. 9 times out of 10, it gets really good results. And then after that point, we're like, cool, let's go and improve that content. Or let's create short ads, so then we can actually run full-blown ad accounts and stuff. But yeah, so we have trainings, we have like agency, and we have partnerships and licenses as well, that we can talk about. So yeah, if you're interested in any of that, just email me at tom@bidurk.com. It'll literally come straight through to me, and because obviously it's coming through Will, I'll be very courteous as always. And
give them some bonuses, Tom.
Give them some bonuses. Yeah.
I popped it in the chat. So tom@bidurk.com. George has a question. Paul has a question. And I'm going to read Paula's question for her. So cool. George, if you want to fire away.
Yeah, Tom. I actually saw you at EMC back in November. So
hey George, how you doing?
Yeah, good man. So I've kind of done this a bit, but you went into a bit more detail on this one. I think my question for you is, in terms of applying some of the learnings here, but then to a high ticket model, are you, with kind of your high ticket clients, are you using this format, but then just heading to like a masterclass, or are you going kind of a different route altogether?
Good question. So we still have a lot of clients in the traditional model, just because it's been working. We've just been working that through and getting everybody to migrate across to this. But we've got about I think it's 15 clients doing this activity right now. And so I can kind of give you the level of experience of what we've seen from these sorts of clients. For high ticket, what I'd really recommend is you say 2 things. One would be YouTube ad, go long form YouTube ad, content rich, educate formula, go through straight to the call to action page. So if it's booking a call, if normally high ticket is going to be booking a call, go straight to that book a call. If you've got like a webinar that's converting really well and you want to just send more people through that webinar because it's like a $2,000 product or something like that, then I would say, great, you probably could do a shorter version and just be pitching the webinar through the video, because you've got more content to share with people, but you just got to validate why they would go to the webinar to watch that content. Why is it just not available for them on YouTube? But the more and more I do this, the more I'm like, why not front load all of your content on the front? Let them get to know, like, and trust you and consider buying from you. Get that video going almost like viral in your industry, and then just saying, cool, the call to action is to come and book a call with us, or whatever it is the next step would be. But keep it really simple. Like, honestly, I would say I'm kind of inclined to say all your content videos could just have a call to action to book a call with you, if that's kind of the formula, and just leave your website just to do the conversion, not to do any further heavy lifting of sales videos and that type of stuff. Unless you feel like, okay, cool, I actually need to sales page and then go to the, but I'll go directly to that. I probably wouldn't do lead gen.
Yeah, no, brilliant. Yeah, that answers that question really, Tom. Thanks for that.
Fantastic.
Cool.
Ben, you're next, my man.
Sweet. I just loved the free writing guide you had, and I was wondering if you'd just be willing to share that doc, or if that's
Yeah, of course. I will. I'll give that to Will, and then I will, because I need to do a variation of that. But I want to get like I need to, because it's always going through iterations, and I'll kind of like I'll get that to Will, so you've got kind of as it changes, it'll keep updated for you as well.
Sure.
You can make a copy of it as well. Yeah.
Nice.
That's stellar.
Good stuff. And then Paula asked, what are the best steps to add YouTube to the ads mix for an info product client who is only advertising on Facebook, which is one of her clients, by the way.
When is
she's running good? She's running good spend, like probably 5+ K a day. What are the best steps to add YouTube to the ad mix? Like, when would you do it, basically?
Oh, if it's info based, YouTube all day long, straight away. I would say if you've got a good ad running on Facebook, not to say that it'll have a direct correlation to work well on YouTube, but it's a good starting place. But I would say you've got like two core versions of ads. You've got kind of like in-stream or kind of responsive, it's called video ads. And those ones are out the gate really hard to crack. Not to say they can't be done, but it's kind of like it's harder. What I would say is get started with like an info-rich video, like the Educate formula that I've shown. Start there, and the way you do it is you run it as an in-feed video ad, but just choose keywords, and your keywords could be search terms or brands. So it's like a brand search of like, I don't know, it could be another individual, so to speak, or your competitor or whoever it might be. Start there. Your results will be insane, typically, if it's good content, and just go through to the same call to action you would have from Facebook. So you've got like-for-like comparison. You won't be able to scale it to crazy numbers like $5,000 a day, $10,000 a day that you might be doing on Facebook. But what you will do is you'll get your foot in the door, get some good results, but get an insane amount of data. So you'll see exactly what keywords are working for you, what brands are working well for you. So just use keyword targeting with in-feed video ads. Once you get that data in and you start to see what's working, the next logical step would be doing remarketing. So you've kind of gained that momentum, and then just run an in-stream ad using remarketing to all the people that have viewed the video to start with. Or do remarketing to all your Facebook audience as well if you do it through Google Analytics. You can do it that way. But then the last thing that you then want to do is get into the bigger audiences. And if you've gone through the remarketing, you tested a few bits of creative that work well there, take that creative that's worked best for remarketing and go for much bigger cold audiences, and start with custom audiences. And so the custom audiences you build are going to be based off of like websites that people visit, or keywords that people type in. But if you've got the brands that have already worked, the keyword search terms that have already worked quite well, you can literally build custom audiences based off that data. And that's the way to get into the bigger stuff. And obviously, I don't know your industry or anything like that, but if it's info, it's normally quite high margin. So you've got a little bit of wiggle room to make it work. And you might be doing lead gen first or something. If that's the case, I would start YouTube today. Like it's,
okay.
Yeah, it's great.
Thank you. May I just ask another question?
Yeah, ask your follow-up,
okay,
for sure.
Good. Thank you. So this sounds great for this client that already is having a good presence in Facebook. They run some ads, but I believe because what you explained, it didn't work in the past. For some reason, but with the formula that you are expressing today and the fact that we're pre-qualifying people before they click, I believe that is key. Because I was running other ads for other client, and the click-through rate was on the roof, and I said, that is good, that is amazing. And no, it was actually bad because I was paying a lot of money and no results. So that answered my question. I have another client. They don't have a really big presence in Facebook because they just starting with advertising, but they have such a great followers in YouTube, actually 8 million people. So
oh, wow. Okay, cool.
Yeah, the step in the middle with the advice that you just gave me will be just starting with custom audiences then, and that will be
no,
like the first
remarketing to all the YouTube subscribers or YouTube viewers in the last 7 days. or last 14 days, should be a great audience for you. You can start populating that as of today, get that going. As long as they've got good, like, I don't know what their niche is. When it's 8 million, I always feel like it could be kind of an entertainment style channel as well. And that might get the wrong sort of crowd. So then you can actually look through, if you connect the YouTube channel to the YouTube ad account or the Google ad account, when you do that pairing, you can then build remarketing lists off of specific videos. So if there's like the more specific videos of certain topic types, you can say, right, if anyone's watched any of those specific videos, then build the audience of that viewership. And that might give you a better remarketing audience, because you might just find that it just populates way too quickly with a diluted audience if it's like entertainment style stuff. But you can also build combination audiences, which is where you say that audience that you've just built, and they have to have gone to this website, or not gone to that website, but they have to kind of be the sort of people that are interested in this website as well. And you can build a combination audience, which is like you kind of create a Venn diagram and just the people in the middle. And you say, that's probably a higher quality audience now. So you can play around with custom audiences quite nicely. But if it's just getting started, I would start with what strategy would be like in-feed video ads, content, and then you want to optimize the ad campaigns for video retention, not necessarily leads and sales immediately. Just do video retention. Honestly, at $5, $10 a day, you're going to get so much data about what works and what doesn't work. And that's going to springboard you into then building the custom audiences based on the keywords that are working well.
Good.
Awesome.
Just the last thing, I'm sorry, just to set up the right expectations. I want to pick your brain. Thank you. So just setting the right expectations, comparing results, YouTube and Facebook. What should be the first thing that I need to make the client aware of?
They could probably double their results by getting YouTube working with Facebook. If you're opening up a whole new platform and they're doing well on YouTube already, it's a no-brainer, right? They've got like a good following already in that space. Or if they're info, it's likely to work very well. It's like the platform's designed for that, you know? So if they've got good funnels, it's like transitioning across to YouTube could rival Facebook and both work together. But you'll also find you get the benefit of both worlds. So like if they get a big brand on YouTube, you tend to find that really helps all other platforms perform even better, because they've got the brand then. They've got like that kind of, people know who they are before even watching the ad, and that goes a long way.
Thank you so much.
Last question for the day from Alfie. Do you know of many e-com offers doing 10 to 20K a day on YouTube?
I know of. We don't tend to attract too many of those offers. So digital products, we can spend that much, and north of that as well. Physical products, the only brands, the brands that we know personally that do that, you may want to check out For Patriots. They sell a lot of like gear in the kind of survival space. See if you can like isolate their videos about their power generators, and that's kind of the main product they do well with, and also their food supplies and things. And then Golden Hippo tends to always do very well as well.
Golden Hippo,
yeah. They're not all, they do like a lot of different types of products, but they can often do a lot in the beauty space as well. So there's lots of brands that do well there. But yeah, it's not easy to kind of e-commerce physical products on YouTube is, we found it a lot harder to get it to work.
I got caught up on last Saturday, watching the V-Shred VSL at 8 a.m. in the morning. And I was like, what's his name again? Vince, right? Or Vince. And I was like, what's he going to sell now? I had both ends. I had the marketer in me that wanted to see the webinar that was literally an hour VSL in the middle of I think I was watching investing videos. And then I was like, but I have to watch it, right? I have to watch it. So.
Well, you know, so V-Shred were one of our, like, I don't want to say we put them on the map. That's not at all true. But like they came to us really early on when they were a very small brand, and we helped them really scale with YouTube. It was one of our biggest clients that we've ever had long time ago, like 6 years ago, 7 years ago.
They absolutely kill it.
And the guys there, I was like, you need a funnel that segments your audience. So you have like a funnel, and they still use that same funnel today. I'm not a funnel guy, but that kind of like has inspired so much of our development as well, to be like, their call to action now is not go buy this product. It's like, let us find out a little bit more about you first, and then we can genuinely help you. And so
Maybe
you answer
that quiz for years.
Quiz, yeah, the quiz is crushing it. So now they're doing a supplement line, and that's where I got sucked into the supplement line video. But
School Nation, isn't it, Will?
Yeah. Man, Tom, thank you so much, and thank you for spending a little bit of extra time with us today. You guys check out Tom at bedirk.com. So if you want to shoot him any questions, if you want to check out that X-ray software to audit your organic content, it's free, so you can go to bedirk.com and check that out as well. And super gracious for your time today.
Of course, buddy. Yeah. Bedirk is our new brand, so I'm excited by that. So yeah, I mean, totally. I haven't got an inbox that's got 4,000 people trying to get hold of me every day. So you can get hold of me there. It'll be like quite a clean inbox, so I can answer you. But our normal agency, viewability.co.uk, you can also go there if you're interested in working with us as a brand as well. But, fantastic. It's been good fun, and I see some familiar faces. So hey, Rita as well, and some other people there as well. So good to catch up, everybody.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Tom. Catch you here really soon.
Thanks, Will. Thanks, everybody. See you soon.